board meeting Wednesday. Beyond the boardroom. Beyond the boardroom.
All right, here we are for another episode of Board Meeting Wednesdays, and I got to say this is a real special one. I'm super excited to actually be on the boat. My guest today, Adam Yeager, is a good close friend of mine. He comes from the auto repair space. Over his career, he has started off working in the space as a GM, working himself up to a regional director, managing over 40 locations at his prime in that space. Then he moved on to better ventures, running his own company, helping with consulting with other shops and buying and purchasing shops and then taking those to exit. So we couldn't get any better advice from somebody in the auto repair space when we're looking to drive success. So Adam, how are we doing today?
Wonderful. Beautiful setting. Had a very productive morning. Excited to do this with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Adam and I had a great session this morning where we were rocking and rolling with our best friend, Claude, and I was showing him all kinds of AI automations that he could get going into his business. As you guys know, what we do on this podcast is we talk about the technology platforms that business owners are using inside of their business to help them drive success. There's no way as an operator, if you want to continue to grow and scale, that you can move from one location to 2 or 5 locations without technology helping you. So what we do is we talk to business owners that are using technology and we find out their top 3. And what we want to learn is how does it help them have a better experience with their customer? How does it help their team drive success in the business? And ultimately, how does it help them either make more money or save more money? So what we're going to do is we're going to dive into Adam. We're going to learn a little bit about his business. Adam, you ready to rock and roll?
Ready to rock and roll.
All right. So tell us really quickly, just at the macro level, if you had to pick 3 technology platforms that you're using in your business today, what would you say your top 3 are?
Well, for point of sale system, Techmetric seems to be superior and very user friendly. Second, I would say FormPiper for financing. And third, Turnkey. You know, they really kind of handle A to Z for marketing.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I've heard those names in the past before. As you guys know, I own FormPiper, so we always love to hear our guests talk about FormPiper, so I'm going to drill them really, really good on that one. But we've heard about Techmetric a lot. We did a lot of interviews with business owners that are using it, so this is a trend. So if you're an auto repair shop owner and you're looking for that right system, it seems like to me Techmetric is a huge, huge fit. So Adam, so what we're going to do is we're going to dive in. We're just going to go one by one and we're going to talk about those 3 key points. And I'll just ask you the questions along the way. And just remember, our guests, they're just like you. They're busy. They just want to get the insights to figure out how they can improve their business and go take action. So what we're trying to do is help them understand that these options would be a good fit for their business. So let's just start with number 1 in no particular order. We'll just hit Techmetric. So tell us a little bit about how Techmetric works in your business. And let's focus initially on how it helps your customers have a better experience when they come in your business.
Well, over the years, I've used multiple different platforms for point of sale systems and automotive repair shops through multiple different organizations that I worked with. And Techmetric's by far the most user-friendly for my staff and for my customer base. You know, they offer pre-built packages, very easy to navigate for the staff, very easy to understand for the customer base, digital inspections, and honestly, things are written in a way to where they're uniformed. So instead of a service advisor misspelling or abbreviating, you've really got a good flow you can set and have consistency through multiple locations. So having multiple locations, it also has a benefit of being web-based. So I can look at, you know, the whole ecosystem, or I can dial down to one location and I can look at all the KPI reports to see what may stand out at one location versus another, so we can use training to really help complement the overall objective for the location.
Okay, great. So I can hear how it's already kind of covering the 3 bases of what's important for a business owner. So let's think about the customer. You mentioned packages, and I remember this on the last podcast where it's like you could have these certain product packages that you've put together. So if a customer needs something, it's really easy for the shop to identify, hey, this is what you need. So how do you think that affects the customer when they're trying to make a buying decision?
It just makes it an easier process. I mean, too often in my career, I've had customers calling and trying to get price quotes over the phone, and you've got, you know, A, Y, Z, all kinds of different individuals with different answers, and prices were all over the place. So now I can have uniform pricing, European brake job, domestic, truck. So I have consistency with what my pricing is so that the customer can have an immediate response. Flushes, tune-ups, all of these things you can pre-build into that platform to where A, your technicians and your managers don't have to spend a lot of wasted time, and B, you're very responsive to that customer. Time is the most valuable thing on earth, and the quicker you can get back to that customer with whatever they're requesting, the more likelihood you are going to secure that sale.
I remember talking to another owner. He had 14 locations, and he had a huge problem with the customer going to one shop and getting a price, Then they would call another shop because he owned the old territory. They'd call another shop and it would be the same thing, but it would be a different price. And so it was causing confusion because the price quoting, whoever was handling it, was following not a system. They didn't have these packages. So by having that consistency, if I'm a customer, if I know if I call for that brake job at one of your locations, then I call the other, I'm going to have that consistency.
We have uniform marketing, uniform pricing, labor rates, shop supplies. Everything is set with our parts matrix, our labor matrix. So what I've done at one location, I've scaled to all the locations. So there is that uniformity.
Excellent, excellent. There's nothing worse than a customer getting a different experience at one location and then going to another, getting something different, right?
You lose trust and credibility.
Trust.
And at the end of the day, if one shop's $5 more than the other shop, you've lost trust with that customer.
Absolutely. So you've kind of already hit on it, but so that customer's coming in, they know what they can expect. But how easy has it made it for your team to be able to function and offer that quality service to the customers?
Well, we have high volume locations, so time is of the essence. In order to be able to support the number of customers we have coming and calling on a daily basis, I need to have some platforms in place to help support that team to where they can focus on customer service, quality control, and good follow-up. So if they're getting, beat up all day long trying to build 500 estimates, it's really a waste of time. So just having uniform packaging, and look, you can't uniform everything. There are some repairs that you have to do custom, but we try to take a lot of that strain and time consuming and just streamline it. And once you've done it with one location, you just cut, copy, and paste into the next.
So now your team has this cookie cutter system. They want to go in, they can look up a customer, they understand everything about them, they know the jobs that they need to pitch. Does Techmetric make it to where it's doing automation communication with the customers as well? Like if they have a job that's upcoming, is it doing that as well, or is that a different system?
I mean, you can prompt it to do quite a bit for you. So, we have Carfax that we have easy access, so I can look at the customer's history of anything they've ever had service related. We look at the customer history of what they've had done at our facility. And then we obviously have the maintenance table right there accessible based on the mileage of what the manufacturer's recommending. And then, yes, we've got text to communicate, email to communicate. We send digital pictures with videos and all the descriptions from the inspection process. So the communication back and forth from the customer texting us texting the customer is pretty flawless. And the speed of service is what's crucial. So as soon as that inspection is completed, my team send it off immediately to that customer before they even build the estimate. That way the customer is often calling us, asking questions about their vehicle before we've even really got to the point of putting together pricing. And that's a good thing. You want that customer anxious to be getting that vehicle fixed, and they're happy to hear that, hey, I'm in the process of working this up. I'll give you a call back in 5 to 10 minutes.
So it sounds like it's a great education tool for your customers. They're getting the information that they need in order to make a good buying decision, making it turnkey for your customers to be able to offer that on a consistent basis quickly and efficiently. So obviously it's saving the business time. We know time is money. So let's move over into the money part. How do you think Techmetric, being able to systematize your pricing, guarantee things that are going out, like what is that doing to your overall revenue?
Well, it's generating more leads to our customer base. Back in the day, we did a lot of direct mail for oil changes. That was our loss leader. We would get customers in the door because we'd have aggressive offers on oil changes. And truthfully, it's really developed over the years as a dealer alternative. So I've got menu pricing for brake jobs. I've got menu pricing for all your flushes, all your services, ABC service through Mercedes or BMW. So, the customers are getting all of this marketing material coming through. And when they call, it's already prepackaged in that point of sale system to where my team are like, absolutely, it's now a good time to bring your vehicle in. We'll get that ABC service taken care of.
Do you find, obviously, since you have all these packages in place, it's much easier for your people to build value in the product as opposed to, say, building value in discount, right? Because that's the package. We know that we sell that package, and therefore you're closing deals at a higher average ticket.
Well, look, I don't want to be the cheapest guy in town. I think you pay for what you get. We offer a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty. I've got knowledgeable, honest staff up front, full transparency. We take digital pictures and videos. So we build a lot of value into the services that we offer the consumer, and we're same-day service. So we are your dealer alternative. We're not going to be the cheapest guy in town. I don't want to be, honestly. We don't cut corners. We use quality parts. We stand behind them. We've got master technicians that are fixing the vehicles. So I think that gives customers a lot of reassurance. I've given customers options before where that brake job I'll do for $400, but only comes with a 1-year warranty, or it's $475 and it comes with a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty. What you'll find is the consumers typically opt into the more the stronger warranty, which has a little bit of a higher price point because they want that security.
Awesome. Excellent. All right. So Techmetric for the win again. We always see them and always get great information around them. So, all right. So let's move into number 2. Let's move into FormPiper, my favorite one. Tell us how FormPiper is affecting your business, just at the macro level, and then we'll dive into each level.
Well, I look at it from a couple different perspectives. One is lost revenue, right? So prior to FormPiper, we were doing 2 to 5% of our business was financing, which, I think is pretty average for most auto repair shops that don't focus on financing. Since implementing FormPiper, we're more in that 18 to 22% range, and I think we still got some room to grow. The benefit of utilizing a platform like FormPiper, we've all had Synchrony, we've all had Qualify, Snap, or whatever finance companies. You've got multiple different contracts they got to look through, things they got to fill out, and they got to get approval rates for this, that, and the other. And then what's really been helpful for me is having one QR code. So like when I do direct mail or I have email blast, I have one QR code and it has multiple different lenders that are on that QR code. So that the customer can be pre-qualified before they even come into our facility. And truthfully, it just makes it easier for our team to say, hey, here is the platform we work off of. There's multiple lenders off of there. Let's see what we can do to get you approved so we can get these much needed repairs completed.
So let's dive into each individual level, because you've hit on a couple points already that are hitting the customer and the team. So how do you think that customer experience is today, having that one QR code application flow versus what it was like before using them individually?
Well, things have changed over the years. Back in the day, they would actually fill it out on our computer. We'd print out paper and they would do it. And it was just extremely time consuming. Today, it's very streamlined. Really, my team has kind of hands off other than just submitting the QR code or sending over the link for the customer. They fill everything out. It takes 5 to 10 minutes. They get fairly instant approvals, and they got multiple choices on which lender they want to go through depending on their approval rate.
I was looking at your data prior to, and you're pushing over an 80% approval rate with your combination of lenders today. Like, how does that make the team feel knowing that if they can get that customer to scan that QR code, that 8 out of 10 people are going to get approved?
Well, when you're increasing from 2 to 3% of your business that you were securing through financing to securing 18 to 20%, your revenue is jumping, and all my guys are, they're compensated based off of their growth and what they're providing. So it's 100% a home run. We go from doing $180,000 to $250,000 a month in gross sales. My technicians are making more money. My front house staff are making more money. My customers are getting the cars repaired that are much needed. And look, whether they get them repaired with me or go somewhere else, they're going to have to get them repaired. I'm just giving them another option to where they don't have to wait, shop around, or be inconvenienced by worrying about if their vehicle is going to break down on them or not.
Do you feel like it's made the journey for the team a little bit easier too? Because, prior, if let's say we filled out that initial application, we got a decline. Now we're having to go back and ask them to fill out another application. What do you think that confidence change has happened for your team, knowing that they don't have to go out and tell the customer no, right? And I'll go back to the good old days. You guys are a yes company, right? Always say yes to the customer. So having to go out and tell them, no, you didn't get approved, but hey, I got another option. Maybe you can get approved. Has that changed the game for them wanting to offer financing because they don't have to have that divide in the middle?
I mean, look, it's uncomfortable. It's embarrassing to tell someone they didn't get approved. And vice versa. I don't want my customers feeling uncomfortable or embarrassed. So at the end of the day, having multiple tiers when you fill out one application, you don't even have to talk about any denials. You talk about the approvals. What we focus on is just positive reinforcement of our stores. There's nothing negative. No matter how bad your car is, it's fixable. No matter how much the repairs are, the great news is I can get it fixed. Same thing applies to financing. We want to come across very positive. We want to be able to help support their needs. And if you go in and you've got bad news saying you got declined, you got to fill out 2 or 3 more applications, the customer's typically going to leave because they feel embarrassed. But my team members feel embarrassed as well.
Right.
So being able to have the reinforcement of only coming with positive news, because honestly, since we've been using FormPiper, I haven't had a customer get declined. Granted, we're in good areas, but in the past, I've had many customers get declined. So it's been a very positive experience, not only for our customer base, which is most important, but for our staff as well.
So you already talked about increasing the overall revenue from 3 to 5% to 18 to 22%. So obviously FormPiper is helping you drive more money. So we're increasing that revenue. Do you find by having that additional revenue, what it's allowing you to do is be more aggressive in your marketing, couple financing with your marketing? And so you kind of have this flywheel effect, right? You're increasing your financing, which means you're increasing your revenue. Now you can increase your marketing and therefore you increase your revenue again.
I mean, look, I may be different than most shop owners. I've always been big on marketing. At the end of the day, I think that you have to get out to the masses. I want my brand being known. I want the customers coming to my shop. But absolutely, as gross sales increase, you have more spend on marketing. At the end of the day, it really boils down to, is your team pushing the marketing? Are you tracking the metrics? And if you're not, then you're just guessing and you're spending money unnecessarily. So as my car count grows, I start getting a capacity, I'll dial my marketing down, but I'm having my guys hyper focused on making sure every customer that comes through gets financed options, right? So my sales continue to grow and my expenses lower.
Fantastic. Well, you did mention, which can pivot us over to the last one. You're moving into marketing, you're tracking the data, you want to understand it. So Turnkey Marketing, fantastic company. I've had the privilege to work with them, with you a little bit and understand how they do. We were actually in their portal looking at all of their information and all their aggregated reports. So how has Turnkey affected your business and how is it helping you drive success?
Well, I mean, time is the most valuable thing on earth. I've mentioned that before. And my time's important. My team's time's important. I want them focused on customers. I want them focused on the guys that are walking the door, the phone that's ringing. My job is to make sure that we're growing stores. I'm grabbing the best talent in the market. So I really needed someone that could head up all my marketing divisions, whether it's direct mail, SEO, Google, whether it's direct track, which is, it's just a seamless process. I have once a month conversations with the team over at Turnkey. I tell them exactly what offers I want to do. They make revisions. They handle the artwork. It's pretty much like their name, Turnkey. Anything marketing related, they're going to handle for me A to Z, and they give real data behind it. So, in the past, I handled marketing myself through 4 or 5 different channels, whether it's geofencing, direct mail, or any of the other different verticals. And what I found is that it ate up a lot of my time and it frustrated me. And I'm trying to work through problems that really aren't in my wheelhouse. My wheelhouse is running auto repair shops at a high level. It's not marketing. So these guys are professionals in the industry. They handle everything A to Z. If there's problems, they bring it to me. If there's solutions, they have them right after the problems. And I'm just giving them marching orders of what I want to achieve and what my budget is.
So let's talk about that. So you went from doing marketing on your own to using a company called Turnkey that handles everything for you. How do you feel like that's affected your customer when they're receiving that marketing or they get that Instagram ad or that direct mail campaign? How have they improved the experience for your customer to give them the confidence to come in and shop with you?
Well, there's no confusion, right? The phone numbers that are on the ads are the correct phone numbers. They're vetted before they're ever printed or before they're ever sent out to the customers. There's not any of the mistakes with the marketing teams, which, look, everybody makes mistakes, right? But having that quality control through Turnkey to ensure that everything is the way it should be. I'm hitting the right zip codes with my direct mail. I'm refining who I'm hitting with different carrier routes. Those are things that just are not within my wheelhouse of expertise, and my customers are getting the correct phone number, the correct email address, the correct physical address. They're getting the right ads, the right offers, the right stipulations on those offers, the right artwork. And then they're tying all the different marketing companies together to where we're having a consistent message through email blast, text blast, direct mail, SEO, Google ads. Everything is pretty much uniform to where you're seeing a message one place, you're seeing a similar message in different places, maybe with some different artwork, maybe with a little bit of pizzazz, but at the end of the day, it's the same message.
So consistent message, that customer knows they can count on you because everywhere they go, they're seeing that same touch point, that same information. It's consistent across the board. Again, so they're building trust
100%.
right out of the gate. So now you have these customers that are educated prior to coming in. They understand your values, your specials. I know we were working on some direct mail campaigns where that QR code was going to go on so people could get pre-qualified for financing before they even come into the door, right? How does that change the culture of your business when that phone rings or that customer walks through the door and they're already educated and they already have a pre-qualification to make a purchase? How much easier does it make the team to be able to deliver that package, right, that you've already put together?
I mean, here's the reality of the financing, where the real benefit lies. If someone gets approved for $5,000 in financing, they're likely going to spend most of that $5,000 on getting their car 100% up to speed, almost like it just rolled off the showroom floor, right? Because they've got that 0% financing for X amount of days, X amount of months. And people want to drive safe. They want to take care of their vehicle. Do you brush your teeth every day? Absolutely. So your car deserves to have all those fluids exchanged. That's that tune-up done. It needs to have brakes to be safe on the road. So, very rarely do we have a car come in that has been caught up with everything. And what we found with financing is that typically when someone gets a $3,000, $5,000 approval, they're getting very close, if not to that limit of spend.
So I know in my businesses with marketing, I always paid a lot of attention to the percentage I was spending. So the more I made, the more I would spend, and I had that flywheel happening. Since you shifted from doing it on your own to having Turnkey manage all of your marketing companies, what impact have you seen on your revenue or even in your savings on ads, right? Making sure that the wrong ads aren't going out, because I saw their data. They got data for days, right? So you would think that they can really hone in on the ones that are working versus the ones that are not working.
I mean, it depends on where your store is at. So, for instance, I have a location in Sugar Hill, Georgia. We bought it September of 24. It was doing $70,000 was this record month. We're hitting 250s, 280s out of that store. So it's getting close to capacity. We're open 6 days a week, and when you get capacity, you don't have to spend as much marketing dollars. So I dialed back my marketing spend at that location just because, the phones are ringing off the hook. I've got parking lot full, cars parked behind cars, high class problems to have, but I don't need to continue to spend a heavy load on marketing. And on the contrary, I've got 2 brand new locations that I acquired less than 3 months ago where I'm building that customer base up, right? I'm wanting to get those technicians and that staff to capacity. So my spend varies depending on where we're at with car count, where we're at with gross sales, and honestly, the size of your location and what your overall objective is for capacity. At some point, you get to capacity, you can either extend hours, you can extend days, or you can turn customers away. The last one is not an option for me. I don't want to turn customers away. So I save a little bit of capital and just start lightly dialing back in my marketing spend. And I make sure that my team is really hyper focused on offering the features and benefits like financing, like same day service, like good phone skills. These are all, you could have the biggest marketing budget in the world. And if you got the guy answering the phone telling them they're too busy, you're wasting money. So I think there's a lot of keys to success in automotive repair, and it's not just spending money on marketing, although that's a recipe of the success. It's not the only ingredient.
Well, it's one of the last ingredients. When I teach, my triangle of success, you really got to focus on your culture, right? Which is what you just said. You got to answer the phones properly. You got to greet the customer properly. You need your packages and presentation ready to go. You need to have your financing in place so when they come in and get the presentation, they can purchase. And then you're going to throw that fuel on the fire with the marketing. There's no reason to spend money on marketing if your people can't answer the phone, right? Or if they can't greet the customer properly and do the presentation. So marketing is always that pillar once you got your culture right, where you can come in and crush it, maximize that market share, understand where that market share is, and then boom, exactly what you're saying, dial in and then maintain that capacity for that market. Well, excellent. So 3 great technology platforms and companies helping you drive success in your business. So here's the final question of the show, because we all got to know. So you're going to buy a new location, all right? You're ready to rock and roll, but you can only do one of these platforms and take one of them with you. Which one you got to take with you?
Well, I mean, it's impossible to run a shop without a point of sale system, right? So you have to have a point of sale system. I don't think that you can run a shop without any of these. I mean, there's more platforms we utilize, obviously. You wanted to pick the top 3, but you got to have a point of sale system in order to operate, period. And you can operate fairly well with just a point of sale system. I know a lot of shop owners that don't do much marketing or any marketing at all. I wouldn't call them successful. I think that they have higher ambitions and they're just hoping and wishing more customers would come in. So I think you got to have that. And then you got to have options for customers that aren't liquid. They don't have the capital, but the car is not drivable. It got towed in or has major safety concerns. So I don't see a world where you can't have all 3, to be successful. I hate to say that. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I love Adam's answer there, right? Look, we got to have it all, right? I'm running a successful business. I need all of these technology platforms to help me drive success. But we are going to give the number 1 to Techmetric, because he said, hands down, you can't run the business without the POS. And we've heard that a lot. So Techmetric, here's to you guys again. Great job. Can't wait to get you guys this content so you can share it out with your team. So guys, if you're in business, doesn't matter the space. If you're in high-ticket retail, high-ticket service businesses, Board Meeting Wednesdays, what we do is get with great business owners like Adam. We learn what he's doing inside of his ecosystem and what platforms he's using to help you drive success. So if you have an auto repair shop and you're not on Techmetric, FormPiper, or Turnkey, they meet the bill. All right. They help your customers have a better experience. They help the team be able to drive the culture that you expect as a business owner inside of your four walls. And ultimately, they're going to help you drive more revenue and save money in your business. So if you want to know the tech platforms that you should be using in your business, stay tuned and check in with us. Every single week, we'll be dropping an episode so you can learn more how to drive success in your business. We appreciate you joining the show. Adam, I'd like to thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. For you that are watching, you guys can hang out for the after show. We're going to be out here ripping it up and getting some surfing in.
That's what I came for.
All right. Appreciate you.
Yeah, brother.
Board meeting Wednesday.